Imagine waking up in a world where everyone, from the lowliest peasant to the most divine knight, wants you. Aren't the chosen one, you aren't the savior, and you certainly aren't the hero. Instead, you've opened your eyes as the most hated man in the kingdom, the arrogant, cruel, and doomed Duke Renzo von Estrella. In every version of the story, Renzo meets a brutal end at the hands of the heroes. But what happens when the villain decides he doesn't want to fight? What happens when his attempt to survive accidentally turns his sworn enemies into his most obsessive protectors? Welcome back to Story Panel Channel, where today we are diving into a gripping tale of reincarnation, subverted fates, and a romance that no one saw coming. This is the story of I became the villain, yet every hero ended up falling for me. Our story begins in the modern world with Haruto Kisaragi, a man who lived a life of quiet exhaustion. Haruto was a top-tier strategist for a famous gaming company, the mastermind behind the balance of the world-renowned RPG Ethelgard's Requiem. He knew every NPC, every item drop, and every tragic ending. Ironically, it was his dedication to this virtual world that led to his downfall. After 72 hours of non-stop coding, Haruto's heart simply gave out. His last thought wasn't of regret, but of the game's final boss, Duke Renzo, a character he designed to be so unredeemable that his death felt like a reward for the players. But when Haruto opens his eyes again, he isn't in a hospital or the afterlife. He is sitting on a velvet throne, surrounded by pillars of gold and the scent of expensive incense. He looks down at his hands. They are pale, slender, and adorned with rings of dark mana. He rushes to a nearby mirror and gasps. The reflection staring back is hauntingly beautiful. Sharp, crystalline blue eyes, silver hair that falls like silk, and a smirk that feels etched into his very soul. He is Renzo von Estrella, and according to the timeline, he has exactly 1 year before the 4 legendary heroes storm this palace and take his head. Haruto, now Renzo, knows he can't win a direct confrontation. The heroes of prophecy are programmed to be invincible. If he continues to act like the villain, he dies. If he tries to flee, the kingdom's bounty hunters will find him. His only choice? He must rewrite the script from the inside out. He must become so indispensable, so confusingly kind, that the heroes lose their will to kill him. The first test comes sooner than expected. The first hero, Kaito Amamiya, is currently a prisoner in the Estrella dungeons. In the original game, Renzo was supposed to torture Kaito, fueling the hero's burning hatred and awakening his solar blade power. Renzo walks down into the damp, dark cells, his cape billowing behind him. The guards bow in fear. But Kaito, chained to the wall, glares with eyes full of pure, unadulterated rage. "Kill me now, you monster!" Kaito spits, his voice raspy. "I will never bow to a tyrant like you." In the original script, Renzo would laugh and use a whip, but Haruto remembers the lore. Kaito isn't just a hero. He's an orphan who lost everything to a plague that the Estrella family actually has the cure for, but kept hidden to maintain power. Renzo sighs, not with malice, but with a weary softness that catches Kaito off guard. He signals the guards to leave. Then, to Kaito's absolute shock, the vile Duke kneels in the dirt. Renzo produces a small, glowing vial from his sleeve, the true antidote. "I'm not here to kill you, Kaito," Renzo says, his voice calm and melodic. "I'm here to apologize for the sins of my bloodline. This won't bring back your family, but it will save the village you left behind. Go, be the hero they need." He unlocks the shackles. Kaito collapses, staring at the antidote, and then at the man he was supposed to hate. The hatred is still there, but it's suddenly clouded by a jarring, painful confusion. Why does the villain look so sad? Why do his eyes look like they've seen 1,000 years of loneliness? Kaido leaves, but he doesn't head for the border. He lingers in the shadows of the capital, his heart racing every time he thinks of the Duke's gentle touch on his wrists. As the weeks pass, Renzo begins a radical reformation of the Estrella Duchy. He lowers taxes, funds orphanages, and uses his vast knowledge of the game's mechanics to solve random events before they become catastrophes. However, his changes don't go unnoticed by the second hero, the stoic archmage Elias Thorne. Elias is a man of logic and cold calculation. He had been sent by the Mages' Council to spy on Renzo, looking for proof of forbidden dark magic to justify an execution. One night, Elias infiltrates the Duke's private library, expecting to find grimoires of blood sacrifice. Instead, he finds Renzo slumped over a desk, surrounded by blueprints for irrigation systems and scrolls of ancient, forgotten light magic. Renzo is fast asleep, a strand of silver hair falling over his face. Elias moves in, a magic dagger in hand. But then he notices the Duke's notes. They aren't plans for conquest, they are mathematical proofs for stabilizing the ley lines of the kingdom, a problem Elias himself had been struggling with for years. Renzo had solved it in his sleep. Elias pauses. He reaches out, not to kill, but to touch the parchment. Renzo stirs, his eyes fluttering open. Seeing the assassin, Renzo doesn't scream. He simply blinks sleepily and pushes a bowl of enchanted fruit toward Elias. "You're the spy from the council, right? You look hungry," Renzo mumbles, his voice thick with sleep. The solution to the third equation is on the back. It needs more mana conductivity. Now, please let me sleep. Being a villain is exhausting. Elias Thorne, the man known as the Ice King of the North, feels a strange, unfamiliar heat rise to his chest. He came to find a demon, but he found a genius who seems to care more about the world than his own safety. He leaves the library without a word, but from that day on, the reports he sends back to the council are filled with nothing but praise for the Duke's reformed spirit. By the time the third hero, the beastkin king Ryujin, arrives at the palace, the rumors have spread. They say the Duke of Estrella has changed. They say he is a saint in a sinner's skin. Ryujin, a towering warrior with wolf-like ears and a fierce pride, doesn't believe in rumors. He storms into the royal banquet, demanding a duel to avenge the honor of his tribes. "Renzo von Estrella!" Ryujin roars, his claymore cracking the marble floor. "Face me!" Renzo looks up from his tea. He knows Ryujin is driven by instinct. The original Renzo insulted Ryujin's heritage, leading to a bloodbath. This time, Haruto uses his knowledge of beastkin culture. He stands, walks down from the dais, and performs a deep, traditional bow of the Fang tribe, a gesture of extreme respect that only a true friend of the beastkin would know. "King Ryujin," Renzo says, his voice echoing in the silent hall, "I do not wish to fight a man of your honor. Instead, I wish to return the sacred totem of the moon that my ancestors stole." He presents a relic he spent 3 days digging out of the palace vaults. Ryujin freezes. The scent of the Duke, a mix of sandalwood and old books, fills his nose. His instincts suddenly scream something else entirely. His tail twitches uncontrollably. This human, he smells like home. He smells like someone who needs to be protected. Ryujin stammers, his golden eyes scanning Renzo's calm face. "You give this back so easily?" "It belongs to your people," Renzo replies, with a small, tired smile. "I'm just fixing a mistake." The duel never happens. Instead, Ryujin declares himself the Duke's personal bodyguard until the totem is safely delivered, refusing to leave Renzo's side. The people of the court are baffled. The three greatest heroes of the land are now orbiting him like moths to a flame. But Haruto knows the clock is ticking. There is still the fourth hero, the most dangerous one of all, the Saintess, Seraphina. She is the one who holds the power of absolute judgment. If she senses a single drop of darkness in Renzo's heart, she will erase him from existence. And as the day of her arrival nears, Renzo realizes that his plan to survive might have worked too well. The heroes aren't just sparing him, they are becoming possessive. They are watching his every move, with eyes that no longer hold hatred, but a terrifying, burning devotion. Can Haruto navigate this new, dangerous game of hearts? Or will the villain's ending be even more chaotic than the one he was trying to avoid? The board is set, the pieces are moving, and here at Story Panel Channel, we're just getting started. Stay tuned as we see if Duke Renzo can survive the love of the very men who were born to kill him. As the gears of fate begin to grind against the original script, Duke Haruto Renzo finds himself in a position more precarious than any executioner's block. The villain's ending he once feared, a swift death at the hands of the protagonists, is starting to look like a mercy compared to the suffocating obsession now closing in around him. Haruto's plan was simple. Act just villainous enough to be exiled, but kind enough to avoid being killed. However, in this world of magic and swords, he underestimated one thing: the psychological toll of being a misunderstood genius in the eyes of men who were bred for war and conquest. We move now into the heart of the storm, where the boundaries between protector and captor begin to blur. The shift begins with Sir Kaito Takumi, the Holy Knight. In the original story, Kaito was the one to deliver the final blow to Haruto, his blade glowing with the light of justice. But now that light has turned into a flickering, shadowy flame. Kaito no longer stands at the foot of the throne as a guard. He stands behind Haruto as a shadow. Every time Haruto tries to commit a villainous act, such as seizing a local granary, Kaito doesn't stop him. Instead, he executes the order with a terrifying efficiency, whispering that the Duke's vision is beyond the comprehension of the masses. To Kaito, Haruto isn't a tyrant. He's a tragic figure carrying the world's sins on his shoulders. Kaito's devotion has mutated. He watches Haruto's hands, his neck, his every movement with a predatory stillness. He has replaced his oath to the kingdom with an oath to the man he was supposed to hate. The knight's justice is now whatever keeps Haruto by his side, and heaven help anyone who dares to look at the Duke with anything less than absolute reverence. Then there is Master Sora Izumi, the archmage of the Silver Tower. Sora was the one who was supposed to see through Haruto's dark schemes using his piercing analytical mind. In the original timeline, Sora's spells dismantled Haruto's magical defenses, leaving him vulnerable. But now, Sora is obsessed with a different kind of mystery. He spends his nights in the Duke's private library, not searching for evidence of treason, but searching for the source of Haruto's loneliness. Sora has convinced himself that Haruto's cold demeanor is a magical construct, a shield built to protect a heart that has been hurt too many times. During one late-night encounter, Sora corners Haruto against a bookshelf, his eyes glowing with an eerie, arcane blue light. He doesn't threaten him with a fireball. Instead, he traces the runes on Haruto's collarbone with a trembling finger. "You hide so much, Haruto," he whispers, his voice thick with a scholar's hunger. "The world doesn't deserve to see the truth of you. Only I can understand the complexity of your soul." Sora's magic, once used for the betterment of the realm, is now being redirected to create wards around Haruto's estate. Not to keep enemies out, but to ensure that the Duke can never leave without Sora knowing exactly where he is. The archmage is no longer interested in the secrets of the universe. He only wants to decode the man standing before him. As Haruto's influence over the heroes grows, so does the political tension at the capital. This leads us to the most dangerous player of all, Crown Prince Akihito. In the game's original plot, Akihito was the righteous leader who stripped Haruto of his titles and banished him to the frozen wastes. But the Akihito of this reality is far more calculating and far more disturbed. He has begun to see Haruto not as a political rival, but as the only person in the empire who is his equal. During the Banquet of Thorns, a high society event meant to celebrate the defeat of a monster horde, Haruto tries to play the villain one more time. He purposefully insults the prince's choice of advisors, hoping to spark a public fallout. But Akihito doesn't get angry. Instead, he laughs, a cold, melodic sound that chills the room. He leans in close to Haruto's ear, his hand gripping a duke's shoulder with bruising force. "Keep biting, Haruto," the prince murmurs. "The more you resist, the more I want to see you broken beneath my crown." "You think you're a villain? I'll show you what a true monster looks like if it means keeping you in this palace forever." Akihito begins to pass laws that isolate the Renzo Duchy, cutting off Haruto's contact with the outside world. He frames it as protection against the Duke's enemies, but everyone can see the truth. The prince is building a gilded cage. The rivalry that should have ended in Haruto's downfall has transformed into a toxic, possessive game of cat and mouse. The narrative takes an even darker turn as these three men, the knight, the mage, and the prince, begin to realize they are all vying for the same prize. The heroes' party is no longer a unified front. They are a powder keg of jealousy. Haruto, caught in the middle, realizes that his attempts to follow the villain's path have backfired spectacularly. Every time he acts cruel, they find it exquisite. Every time he pushes them away, they take it as a challenge to draw closer. Haruto's internal monologue becomes increasingly frantic. He is no longer playing a game. He is surviving a haunting. He starts to see the heroic traits of these men for what they truly are when pushed to the extreme. Kaito's loyalty is a chain. Sora's curiosity is an invasion. Akihito's leadership is a dictatorship of the heart. The very men who were supposed to save the world are now the greatest threat to Haruto's freedom. In a desperate bid to regain control, Haruto attempts to flee the capital, intending to disappear into the lawless borderlands. He believes that if he is gone, the protagonists will return to their original roles and the world will balance itself out. But he underestimates how much he has fundamentally broken the story. The moment Haruto reaches the city gates, he finds not a path to freedom, but a blockade. Standing there are Kaito, Sora, and Akihito, waiting for him. There is no anger on their faces, only a terrifying, calm resolve. They have come to an agreement. They may hate each other, and they may fight for the Duke's primary attention, but they all agree on one thing: Haruto Renzo belongs to them. The villain has become the center of their universe, the sun around which their twisted lives now orbit. Haruto realizes with a sinking heart that he isn't the one who is supposed to be the villain of this story anymore. The heroes have taken that role for themselves, and they've done it all in the name of love. As they step forward to reclaim their Duke, the screen fades to a deep, haunting crimson. The game has changed. The villain's ending isn't death. It's becoming the obsession of the very heroes who were meant to destroy him. The question remains, can Haruto find a way to break the hearts of men who have forgotten how to feel anything but devotion? Or will he be forced to play the role of their captive Duke until the end of time? The board is shattered, the rules are gone, and the real nightmare is just beginning. Stay with us. as we head into the final chapters of this descent into madness. This is Story Panel Channel, and the villain's struggle has never been more alluring. Chapter 7: The Gilded Cage of the High Priest. As Haruto seeks refuge within the sacred walls of the lunar cathedral, thinking the sanctity of the gods would protect him from the madness of the Hero King, he realizes he has stepped into a trap far more suffocating. Here, he meets Sora Mizuki, the High Priest and the healer of the prophecy. In the original story, Sora was meant to be the one to purge Haruto's darkness with holy light. But as Haruto stands before the altar, Sora doesn't raise his staff to strike. Instead, he falls to his knees, clutching the hem of Haruto's black robes. Sora's eyes, once clear and blue as the summer sky, are now clouded with a terrifying, ecstatic devotion. He tells Haruto that the darkness within him isn't a curse, but a divine weight that only Sora is holy enough to carry. He builds a gilded cage within the cathedral's deepest sanctum, a room made of white marble and gold, where Haruto is treated not as a prisoner, but as a living deity. Every meal is a banquet, every cloth is silk, but the doors never unlock. Sora spends hours whispering prayers to Haruto, asking for forgiveness for the world's sins, while slowly stripping away Haruto's connection to the outside. Haruto realizes that, to a fanatic, a villain is just another word for a god to be worshipped in solitude. Chapter 8: The Iron Commander's Silent Oath. The peace of the cathedral is shattered when the military might of the Empire arrives, led by the Iron Commander, Kaito Kurosawa. Kaito was the man destined to lead the execution squad against the villainous Duke. He is a man of logic, stone-cold discipline, and unyielding justice. However, when he finally confronts Haruto in his gilded prison, the logic breaks. Kaito doesn't arrest Haruto for his supposed crimes. Instead, he executes the priests who kept him locked away, claiming that only the military has the strength to safeguard such a dangerous treasure. Kaito's love is a silent, heavy thing. He doesn't whisper poetry. He surrounds Haruto with an army of 10,000 men, creating a human wall that no one can breach. He tells Haruto that the world is too chaotic, too dangerous for someone as precious as him. In Kaito's eyes, Haruto is a flame that must be shielded by a fortress of steel. Haruto's attempts to provoke Kaito into hating him only backfire. Every insult Haruto hurls is taken as a sign of his spirited nature, making Kaito even more determined to never let him out of his sight. Chapter 9: The Unholy Alliance of Heroes. The climax of the tragedy begins when the heroes, Renji the king, Sora the priest, and Kaito the commander, finally meet. In any other story, they would fight one another for the throne or for glory, but here, they stand in a tense, vibrating circle around Haruto. The atmosphere is thick with a possessiveness that threatens to tear the kingdom apart. Haruto, exhausted and desperate, tries to play them against each other, hoping their mutual jealousy will provide him a window to escape, or perhaps a quick death. But the heroes do the unthinkable. They realize that if they war with each other, they might lose Haruto in the crossfire. Instead of a civil war, they form a pact, an unholy alliance. They decide to divide the world into three, with Haruto at the center of the intersection. They will share him. They will protect him from himself and from a world that doesn't understand his beauty. Haruto watches in horror as the men who were supposed to be the paragons of virtue agree to tear down the laws of God and man, just to ensure that he remains their shared obsession. The villain is no longer a character in a story. He is the sun around which 3 dark stars have decided to orbit forever. Chapter 10: The Sovereign of Broken Hearts. In the final chapter, we see the transformation complete. Haruto Ryuzaki, the man who tried so hard to be the villain so he could die and leave this world, finally accepts his fate, but not as a victim. If he cannot be the villain who dies, he will be the sovereign who rules through their obsession. He stops fighting the chains and starts pulling the strings. He sits upon a throne forged from the weapons of the heroes who were supposed to kill him. Renji kneels at his right, Kaito at his left, and Sora at his feet. The world outside is peaceful, but it is a peace born of absolute control. The heroes have become the villains to the rest of the world, committing atrocities in Haruto's name just to see him smile. Haruto looks into the camera of his own destiny and realizes the ultimate irony. By trying to escape the role of the villain, he created a world where heroism itself has died, replaced by a beautiful, terrifying devotion. He is the villain who won, not by conquering kingdoms, but by conquering the hearts of those meant to destroy him. He is the captive king of a world that loves him too much to let him be free. And so the curtain falls on the story of Haruto Ryuzaki, a man who was promised a script of hatred, but was given a reality of suffocating adoration. It is a haunting reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do to a villain is to love them. The heroes are no longer saviors. They are guardians of a beautiful nightmare, and Haruto is their eternal prize. The lines between hero and villain haven't just been blurred. They have been erased entirely, leaving behind only the cold, hard diamond of obsession. What would you do if your sworn enemies suddenly decided that you were the only thing worth living for? Would you fight until the end, or would you, like Haruto, eventually learn to rule from within your cage? The story of I became the villain, yet every hero ended up falling for me, is a masterclass in psychological tension and the dark side of devotion. It challenges the very idea of what a hero is and shows us that love, when twisted, can be the most effective weapon of all. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the descent of Haruto and his obsessive suitors, make sure to show your support. This story may have reached its end, but the world of dark tropes and reimagined destinies is just beginning here. Don't forget to smash that like button if you found Haruto's struggle as captivating as we did. Share this video with your fellow manga and manhwa lovers who enjoy a good twist on the villainous genre. Most importantly, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single chapter of our future journeys. Thank you for walking this dark path with us. This has been Story Panel Channel, where the villains are complex, the heroes are unhinged, and the stories never go quite the way you expect. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, watch out for who you choose to fight, because they might just fall in love with you.